right, is everybody here?
We're ready. Joe's got us.
Okay, I think we're live.
Right? That's the beauty, right? One person, one vote. Right?
All right, it is 6 o'clock. We have been in an executive session, so we need to come back into open session. Uh-oh, somebody leaned against a door, I think. Yep, it's back there.
Thank
There
you.
go.
I'd like to make a motion that we return to public session.
Second.
All right, we are back in public session. While in executive session, we heard we discussed the hearing of a student appeal, received personnel recommendations, and discussed legal issues. We will have some action items. I'll get to those in just a moment. But first, in accordance with South Carolina Code of Laws, 1985, Section 30-4-80-E, the following have been notified of the time, place, and agenda of this meeting: the Herald, the Charlotte Observer, CN2, and WRHI. If I could ask you all to please join me in a moment of silence. Thank you. We'll now stand for the Pledge of Allegiance. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Okay, while in executive session, I mentioned we were scheduled to hear a student appeal. That was withdrawn, so we have no action to take on that. However, we do have action for personnel recommendations.
I'd like to make a motion that we accept the recommendation of the administration for 41 certified professional staff, that is 38 replacement and 3 new.
Second.
We have a motion and a second for 38 replacement and 3 new professional staff. Is there any discussion?
Ma'am?
All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? That motion carries.
I'd like to make a motion that we accept the recommendation of the administration to name Yashika Latimer as the coordinator of middle and secondary math.
Second.
Motion and a second for Yashika Latimer as the coordinator of middle and secondary math. All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? That motion carries.
I'd like to make a motion that we accept the recommendation of the administration to name Gregory McDowell as the assistant supervisor for transportation.
Second.
Motion and a second for Gregory McDowell as the transportation assistant supervisor. Can't get the word out. Any discussion? All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? That motion carries.
I'd like to make a motion that we accept the recommendation of the administration to report 1 breach of licensed school psychologist contract.
Second.
Motion and a second to report 1 breach for a school psychologist license. Any discussion? All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? That motion carries. That does conclude, I believe, all of the actions from our executive session. Our next item on the agenda is some recognition. We've got some folks, I believe, out in the hallway that have been with the district for a very long time that we want to recognize their years of service with us.
Thank you, Ms. Spears. Just for the public that may not be aware, we have a recognition program in place in the district. It's been in place since the early 90s, whereby we honor employees with in 5-year increments of service. So we start at 5, and they get, and I don't have the list right in front of me, what they receive in the way of recognition. Then they go to 10-year groups, 15, 20, 25, and 30. We typically honor in person our 25 and 30-year honorees at the board level, at a board meeting, and that's what we're doing tonight. So, Katie, I believe is Katie? Oh, we're right here. Okay. So I'm going to get some help from Ms. McGarity, and but just so you'll know, the 25-year employees, and we've got 9 of those, they may not all be here, they receive a Fort Mill School District diamond pin. That's a very small diamond, and reflecting the 25 years of service. And then the 30-year employees will receive a clock, and it's not just a regular clock, it's engraved with their name and some special stuff. So anyway, if you're gonna do the names, Ms. McGarry? All right. We'll get started. And I failed to say, and I need to say this, these folks, the years of service that they've given to our students in our community is amazing. Can't even begin to thank them for the lives they've touched and their service and their work. And so before we get started, I'd like to give them all a nice round of applause.
Okay. Tonight we're starting with 25 years of service. Robin Brown, district school nurse. Okay. Amy, Amy Gallagos, third grade teacher at Riverview Elementary. Joy Lampley, special education teacher at Nation Ford High School. Terry Meisenhammer, kindergarten assistant at Tega K Elementary School. Greg Pendarvis, math teacher at Fort Mill High School. Lippy Pratt, GT teacher at Sugar Creek Elementary School. Lynn Smith, business teacher at Fort Mill High School. Stephen Sprague, JROTC instructor at Fort Mill High School. Deborah Young, food service assistant manager at Doby's Bridge Elementary School. All right, next, our 30 years of service, Miss Sharon Irvin, food service manager at Springfield Elementary School. Patricia Hall, food service operator at Fort Mill Middle School. Annette Chinchilla, principal at Riverview Elementary School. Thank you.
You want them to come up together or no? Okay. Okay. Our next item is approval of minutes from the June 8th meeting. You've all received a copy of the minutes. Were there any corrections or adjustments? No, ma'am.
I had a couple grammatical things,
Okay.
typo things.
You want to send those to
I'll send
Ms.
them to 'em.
Pettis for
Yeah,
just little
they're minor.
comments and things? Okay. Then those will stand approved as briefly amended. And that brings us to why I think a lot of you are here, is public participation section. So as I mentioned to some of you, we do have a 15-minute public participation window at every meeting. I have 7 cards. I don't know that they're in the order that they were turned in, that they might have gotten shuffled as I was putting them together, but I have 7 cards, so we're going to do about 2 minutes apiece. And so I'm just going to call you up in the order that I have them, unless you guys have arranged a different specific order that you wanted to go in. Okay. When you come to the podium, I'm going to ask you to please state your name and address for the record, just so we have it for our minutes, and then we'll give you your 2 minutes to address the board on the topics that you've listed here. So starting with Rob Holleran. Come on up. Ms. Pettis will have a clock running behind us, just so you'll have an idea of where your time is.
My name's Rob Holleran, 326 Dudley Drive, Fort Mill. I have 3 children attending Doby's Bridge Elementary this year, and I have my daughter entering kindergarten for the first time. The reason I came here today was to talk about the decision-making process that you all are going to go through this year as we enter, this new school year amongst COVID. Full disclosure, I'm a former teacher. I taught 6 years in Fairfax County outside DC. And while I was there, one of the things that really hit home for me, and if you're an educator, you've learned this over and over again, it's something called Maslow's hierarchy of needs. And in order for education to take place, you need to make sure certain basic needs are met. And those include physiological needs, safety, food, shelter, and safety needs. And those are the foundations on which we build an education. What I wanted to talk about today is your decision-making process going into this school year, ensuring, in light of COVID, because I know that this district has done really well in providing for those first two tiers of needs to this point, as I can tell from my children. But the decision-making process that goes into the policies and procedures that are going to be put forth and the decisions you're going to have to continuously make as you go throughout the school year. I'm not here to advocate one side or the other. I know a lot of people here are. They deserve to be heard, and they deserve to advocate for their children. It's their right, and that's why they're here. I'm here to say that despite them being here advocating for their children, your decisions need to be informed by science, by medicine, by your staff and your faculty. No one knows the students better. No one knows the buildings better. No one knows the environment better. And you have a lot of resources available in order to pull in and make good decisions. I'm not going to agree with all your decisions, but if they're made with critical thinking, analysis of data, the things that we want to empower our children to learn to do, I'll be able to live with it. And then I say I have 6 seconds left. Whatever the decision is, if your decision-making process is transparent and informed, whether I agree with it or not, I'll live with it. Thank you.
Next up, I have Lisa Watson.
I'm incredibly short, y'all. Okay, so good evening, and thank you so much for your time today. My name is Lisa Watson. I am a pediatric nurse practitioner and medical director, and I have the great honor of caring for the children here at the Fort Mill School District. I'm also a mother of a Fort Mill School District student. As a medical care provider and mother, I am concerned for the safety and well-being of our students. Allow me to paint a picture.
I'm
If
sorry.
one child
Just 1 second. I'm going to ask that we make sure that we honor our speakers and we don't interrupt them, please.
Thank you. If one child, just one, has a peanut allergy, the entire class must be peanut-free. And they should, because that child's life matters. We do what we need to do to make school a safe place for them. It has been said that kids are relatively unaffected by COVID. And while most end up with mild illness, there are those that require hospitalization and suffer poor health outcomes. And we are certainly seeing more of this with the Delta variant. These children tend to have the following conditions: obesity, asthma, or a compromised immune system. And school should be a safe place for these students as well. And so allow me now to put all of this data into perspective. The current rate of childhood obesity is about 20%. The current rate of childhood asthma is about 7%. And the current rate of immunosuppression in children is 2.7%. And so at minimum, 1 in 5 students in this district are at high risk of a poor outcome from COVID. I understand that circumstances at the state level are preventing us from mandating masking, and this leaves children unprotected. There are, though, measures proven to mitigate the disease spread that we can and should take. And these include masking on buses, keeping a minimum of 3 feet physical distance from others, cohorting, screening through rapid testing, diligent hand washing, and quarantining exposures, I know how hard y'all are working, and I know how hard you are trying to protect our students. Thank you for moving forward with the Air Guardian air purification system. While it decreases the COVID viral particles, there's no human data to support its effectiveness to reduce the transmission. I am optimistic that it will do so. And these systems have not yet been fully installed, which makes measures like masking, physical distancing, contact tracing, and quarantine even more imperative. Children under 12 years of age are not eligible for the vaccine, and they don't have a choice. I see my time is up. Thank you all for what you do. Wishing you all health, safety, and sanity. May I pass this out to you all if you'd like it?
Yeah, you can just take one and pass it down. Thank you very much. Next, I have Michelle Gelzer. Good, okay.
First of all, it's nice to actually see your faces. And also with the air purification system, very happy about that. I think that's very important.
Can you do me a favor, go back and state your name and
Oh,
address?
Michelle Gelzer. Okay, I'm just going to read straight from the Wall Street Journal. Studies done by Dr. Marty Mackery and Dr. Cody Meisner. It's called The Case Against Masks for Children. Do masks reduce COVID transmission in children? Believe it or not, we could find only one single retrospective study on the question, and its results were inconclusive. Masks can cause severe acne and other skin problems. The discomfort of a mask distracts some children from learning by increasing airway resistance during exhalation. Masks can lead to increased levels of carbon dioxide in the body. And I also have proof of that. And I will present that to the board. It goes within 2 minutes from 1,500 to 7,000 ppms. Yes, at 5,000, it is considered dangerous. In March, Ireland's Department of Health announced that it won't require masks in schools because they, quote, may exacerbate anxiety or breathing difficulties from some students. The possible harm of widespread masking is even a greater worry, especially for children with disabilities and hearing issues. The CDC mask decrees are perversely permissive as well as needlessly strict. Cloth masks aren't even nearly as effective as the N95, but the CDC directive ignores the distinction. Public health officials claim to base their decisions and guidance on science, but there's no science behind mask mandates for children. Any child who wants to wear a mask should be free to do so, but forcing them to make personal health development sacrifices for the sake of adults who refuse to get immunized is abusive. Before we order the masking of 56 million Americans who are too young to vote and don't have a lobby, let's see the data showing the benefits and weigh them against the long-term harm.
Thank you. Next up, I have Joanne Walker.
Hi. Should I get started? Joanne Walker. I'd rather not give my address out loud.
We either need to keep the room quiet or we'll have to shut the door. Okay, go ahead.
Hi, I'm Joanne Walker. I live here in Fort Mill. I have 3 kids in the school district, one of which is in middle school and the other 2 are in elementary school. The 2 that are in elementary school are both immunocompromised. Legally, I have to send my kids to school. That's my legal requirement as a parent. And legally, you guys have to keep a place, you have to provide a place for them that is safe for them in order to learn. My youngest, however, falls into a category of too young to be vaccinated and also too young to be included in FMVA. He's in 2nd grade. I have no choice but to send him to school. I'm very worried about him. He has asthma, and I'm concerned about the lack of restrictions that are going to be happening this year. We've heard about this proviso, this law that was put forward, and the governor keeps repeating, oh, well, you can't mandate masks. Well, actually, it's actually an excuse for not mandating masks. Senator Shane Massey, who is the Republican majority leader in the Senate, he stated that this is not true. He said that the proviso was included to keep districts from using masks as a way to force vaccination. So elementary school children do not apply to this because they are too young to be vaccinated. Therefore, not allowing a mask mandate in elementary school is actually cruel. You're not doing the children any service for their health and safety because they do not have the ability to get the vaccination. I asked at the last meeting for you guys to follow science and follow the CDC. And I want to thank you, Mr. Frattaroli, for reaching out to me following the meeting to actually find out what I wanted to say. You guys jumped at removing the desk shields when the CDC said that they don't work. And I'm fine with that. They don't, I mean, whatever. But my concern is that you're ignoring them on their mask recommendations. DHEC has recommended it. The CDC, all the scientists, doctors have recommended it. So just be strong, make the right choices. You can't cherry pick these decisions. This is not forever, and the longer we refuse to do the right thing, the longer this pandemic is going to continue. My next door neighbor, I'm just going to finish. My next door neighbor is already quarantining because he was already exposed at the middle school orientation.
Okay.
So
Thank you very much.
thank you so much for your time.
Alexis Benson.
Alrighty then. All right. My name is Alexis Benson. A few days ago, Dr. Dan Stock presented at Hancock Community Patriots, that's their mascot, at Hancock County School Board. He has a PhD in virology, and he spoke. So if you haven't seen it, please watch it. He gives you actual science and actual data. I saw that there's a math teacher here who got 25 years. It would be great if you could work with the school board in gathering the data and coming up with actual statistics based on actual studies. Back in September of last year, I provided the board with several journal studies that have been published throughout the last decade or so. These are the same studies that this doctor presented a year later to his school board. You've had one whole year to sit on the information that I gave you, and it's complete negligence that you have yet to put any sort of data together. DHEC and CDC are not government elected officials. They do not make our laws. They have their hand in both ends of the cookie jar. So they have patents in both vaccines and they have patents in actual viruses. And those of you who don't know, viruses can't be patented because they are natural occurring substances. So if they are patented, then you know that they were created in the lab. So please, for the love of Jesus, on top of that, it doesn't even matter because we said the Pledge of Allegiance and it said liberty and justice and freedom for all. So if you want to wear a mask, knock yourself out. If you want to endanger your child's breathing, knock yourself out. But it's not going to happen where you're going to dictate what me and my child are doing. So you all can kill yourselves with your mask wearing and your vaccines. Ain't going to happen over here. So maybe we need to start discussing separating the schools so that we don't have an issue with our students' psychological and social damage due to the teachers wearing masks and our kids not being able to read their facial expressions.
I believe it's Dupal Patel. Did I get that right? Or close?
My name is Dupal Patel. I'm a resident of Masons Bend community, and I'm going to be a parent of a kindergartner and a second grader for the first time in person. My other qualification is that I'm a real live doctor, an MD, who has been practicing at CMC Mercy after I delivered last year, so I also have a baby. So I've been working in the hospital, in the nursing home, and in the office since October 2020. I have not been working as long as my colleagues have. And I have seen the science, and I've seen it with my eyes. There are three things we can do to keep people safe: social distancing, wearing a mask, and vaccination. I've seen it with my eyes. In our nursing home at Sardis Oaks, before vaccination, we had 3 waves of an outbreak. Despite testing, hand washing, sanitation, rapid tests, patients crept in. One patient spread to other patients, spread to staff, nurses, nurses' aides, environmental services. 3 separate waves: July, August, September. December came along. We were able to get vaccinated in the first round. 85% of our patients agreed to get vaccinated. Since that time, we've had 1 or 2 positive cases. Has it spread? It has not. I'm asking you to protect our children. My kids, kindergarten and 2nd grade, have been diligently wearing masks. They have no psychological damage. Our kids are resilient. I would rather them be alive. Parents have a choice. I, as a doctor, do not have a choice. If one of you get admitted at Mercy Hospital and you have COVID and you're under my service, whether or not you're vaccinated, I will treat you. I don't have a choice. Please make the right decision for the safety of our kids. Thank you.
And I have one final card, Lorena Welch. There she is.
Hi, I'm Lorena Welch, and I live in the Lake Ridge neighborhood. I'm a medical scientist at Atrium with 3 kids attending Fort Mill School District in 1st, 4th, and 7th grades. We felt very fortunate to be a part of this community for over a decade, and I want to thank you all for all the hard work that you do. As a parent, we often daily have to make unpopular and inconvenient decisions regarding safety and health, both short-term and long-term, for our children. That's why we wrangle them into car seats, serve the broccoli, and follow the advice of our pediatricians from the first newborn appointment to their first illness and beyond. Masking our kids is protecting our kids, much like wearing a seatbelt is protecting our children. In our cars. Today I spoke with one of our local experts at Atrium, Dr. Amina Ahmed, who's the medical director in pediatric infectious disease and immunology at Levine's Children's. I want to share her expertise regarding COVID and masks, and we'll share all resources with board members and any interested parties. Dr. Ahmed said, "We know from the Duke studies, as well as the Wisconsin studies, that the layered strategies, which include masking, distancing, and cohorting, works. There's no doubt we are going to see transmissions in school this fall. Children are the only unvaccinated cohort, and without masks, they have no protection. Masks only work if all parties are masked. Additionally, they protect from other viruses that may be benign, but the issue is that once a child gets a fever, due to any virus, we're going to have to test for COVID. That means that parents are going to have to stay out of work, families are going to need to quarantine until the issue is resolved. So by masking everyone, we're protecting our children, preventing disruption to school and work. We need masks to allow children to safely and effectively return to school this fall. We need masks to prevent mortality and morbidity. We need masks to prevent a totally preventable disruption to our society. Current, as of today, there's been an 80% increase in the last few weeks in pediatric positive COVID cases, which is concerning, especially if those numbers continue. Thank you. The experts with years of education and real-time exposure to COVID crisis agree that universal masking, social distancing, and cohorting works. Thank you so much for your time.
We don't actually have a discussion on masks on our agenda, so I don't believe we're going to have a discussion about it at this point in time, but we do have some other agenda items to get to, next being an update on something pretty exciting. We've got a guest here with us to talk about a 2nd grade swim program that we've been looking to do for, I don't know how many years we've been trying to bring that back, so we're very excited. Kirk Ike from the YMCA, thank you for joining us.
Thank y'all, and thank you for having us. You know, obviously a difficult time period last year and a half. I call it COVID 2.0. And so running the YMCA, not unlike a school system, we've been had to make a lot of decisions, and we've been very challenged. And so I applaud you guys for what you do. On a personal level, I have a 12-year-old and a 16-year-old. We love Fort Mill. We love living here. And, you know, everything that we're dealing with will pass. It shall pass. And so I applaud y'all for, I think the gentleman who started the discussion, you know, just do your best to make weighted decisions and that's all you can do. On a positive note, Fort Mill Aquatic Complex, you guys approved that partnership between us, the Greenway, the YMCA, and the town of Fort Mill, and we're just so excited to have that facility here for our recreational needs. I think one of the things that I'm proud of living here is all the assets that we have, and I look at the Greenway. What a great asset, what a great legacy for the family. And then I look at the Fort Mill Aquatic Complex and that legacy. It's going to be around for generations, and so we're excited to be able to start the Learn to Swim program, Kicking with Confidence. You know, we're looking forward to that program, and you know, meet with the superintendent and his staff. We're have it tentatively scheduled to cover roughly half the elementaries in the first part of the year and the other half of the elementaries in the second part of the year. We're going to use 2 facilities, actually 3, if you count the Fort Mill, the complex, the Greenway facility. So 3 pools, and it's going to be a 4-day session. There's 4 different levels, and then the kids who don't graduate out of the first level, and this is really the thing that I get excited about, that we can affect kids who don't know how to swim. You know, we're going to give them, what we call splash passes to the YMCA to be able to enroll in our swim lesson classes. And that won't be any additional cost to those kids. Now, transportation sometimes is a challenge, and that, we'll have to work through that. But, we're going to be able to take every second grader over the course of this coming year and get them involved in Kicking with Confidence program with swim lessons. And then internally through the Y, we're going to have some support systems for those kids who don't graduate at a level 1. And there's 4 levels. And so, at my previous YMCA, we would stick with some of the kids for 4, 5, 6 sessions because everybody has different stumbling blocks and different levels that they come to the table with. And so some kids pick it up really quick, some kids take a little bit longer. And so we're really committed to that partnership. Not only here, but all of our facilities. And so we have 3 other school systems that we work with. And so we're excited to be able to start that program and get it started. I don't think we've ever had the ability to initiate this program.
We had the swim program in place, and we haven't been able to we got so big, we started in the, is Annette in here?
I was gonna say, my three oldest sons
But
participated.
it's not to the degree you're talking about. It was,
Or at the new facility.
yeah, plus the facility was built with this being one of the caveats to go along with the bond. But, we haven't had it in probably 7 or 8 or 10 years, so we're excited.
My senior didn't get to do it, so.
Oh, it's been, there you go. We lost a whole generation, whole 12.
Yeah, so we're excited, and really for our 3 counties, we want to be able to have opportunity access for anybody who wants swim lessons. And it's the one thing that, youth sports is great, team program is great, but it won't save your life, and swim lessons we know will. So, and we have adult swim lessons too, so about 40% of our population from an adult standpoint doesn't know how to swim either. And the hardest part for adults is to actually sign up, is to get over their their hiccups or their embarrassment. I have staff that don't know how to swim, and I'm slowly encouraging them to sign up. But we just thank y'all, and we're really looking forward to working with the staff on, coordinating the schedules with the schools, and obviously doing our best to keep everybody safe.
And you're going to come back, or we're going to share some more information about the exact schedule in a couple of months, I think.
Yes, sir. In your
I know that you need
packet,
to come back, but
yes, sir. In your packet on the first letter, it has the kind of the target schools as far as the first half of the school year and the second half of the school year. But there's a lot of logistics that have to take place, obviously, with what's going on today. How do we do that in a safe fashion? And we're just really looking forward to it. Our staff are excited. Every kid who goes through the program, we're going to provide a Learn to Swim t-shirt, and we're going to fund that through the Y. And that actually helps us on the days that they're coming to the Y. We can identify them, and so each day they come to the Y, they wear their t-shirt. And then it also gives them something to get excited about, particularly second grade. Coming to the Y is like going to Disneyland a little bit. It wanes as you get older, but for that population to be able to swim and just come into the pool environment, it's a cool thing to watch.
Tell me again, you said 4 days?
4 days, 45-minute sessions, and then the kids who don't graduate out of the first level, and we define every level pretty specifically, and it's in your packet. For those kids who don't graduate out of first level, they'll get a 2-week 8-session swim lesson, and then the kids who, and we have some internal way to identify those kids, the kids who don't do well in those 8 sessions, they'll get additional sessions. And we know some kids are going to need 2, 3, 4 sessions, particularly if they can't even get their face wet. And so we're excited about it, and just pleased to partner with you guys.
Brian and I worked on the bond referendum in 2016 that was the funding source for this. So to see it finally get to this point is pretty exciting.
Yeah, I mean, and there's obviously a lot of hoops you have to go through, a lot of people that you have to satisfy from a taxpayer standpoint. But that is a unique partnership, and we actually have an aquatic complex or a conference here coming up in next week, actually. And we're the showcase between the Clover School District and Fort Mill School District. We're the showcase for the country when it comes to partnerships. So we're excited to show off what we're doing.
Well, and it is extra exciting for us because the old program, we were able to teach water safety, just basically how not to drown, which is an essential skill. But you're going the next level up and teaching them to swim, so that's amazing.
Yeah, and just, you know, the love of recreation. It's you know, not everybody's going to be an Olympic caliber swimmer, but you know, we do have some good high level competitive swimmers in our area, and that facility helps us with that. But I'm pro rec, and so just taking the average kid who you know, loves to do activities, that's what we're all about.
I'm also excited because I know lifeguards have been in a real shortage lately, and water safety instructors, and so the fact that you're able to staff it and still go forward with it is
Yeah,
very,
and you know, we kind of grow our own, and so we have a culture that it's funny, you know, it's not necessarily what the hourly rate you're paying, it's really the culture, and do you enjoy who you're working for, and you know, the environment that we try to create. So we've been blessed to be able to get through this summer with all of our programming. So. And thank y'all.
Thank you very much.
Yep.
Thank you. Thank you, sir.
All right, we do have a couple staff reports, starting with the financials. Ms. Lordo. You can take it. I'm good with here.
Thank you and good evening. In your packet, we have included the financials for June 30th. This is the end of our fiscal year, but let me start by sharing with you that these are will not be our final numbers. We're still working through all the reconciliations, have not received the final county tax reports, working with the auditors, closing out all the state and federal funding. So there's still a lot of adjustments going on in the finance department that will impact these numbers as we prepare for our annual audit in about a month. And the goal is that all this is wrapped up and we have to submit by the State Department by December 1st every year. But these are our numbers currently. Probably one of the biggest things is we're still running payment of invoices that apply to the prior year. We'll probably do that another 2 weeks, and then we will have wrapped that up. So that certainly impacts our expenditures as well. But as of June 30th, our revenues were $168,527,144, and general fund expenditures were $163,578,439. So we were positive cash flow of $4.9 million. Increase same time last year was $3.7 million. So you would expect we should be tracking a little higher in relation to the growth in the whole budget and the financial transactions for fiscal year 2021. The local property tax collections, we have budgeted $61,056,000. We've actually collected $63 million, which I had shared with you. So in a time of uncertainty with the economy and what was going to happen for tax collections this year, we're very pleased that we exceeded the budget plan for property tax collections. Taxes same period last year were $57.4 million compared to the budget of $54.8. So we also met the budget last year. And as you recall, we project growth in property tax collections at about 3% a year. So we did actually see that come in slightly higher, which is very positive for this community in this period. And as we plan, and based on the budget that you approved for the current year that we have started. We do not collect really any real property taxes in June or fee in lieu. I did see some refunds where the county is still reconciling on their end for taxes for the whole year. But vehicles, once again, we were at $1,150,000 in vehicle tax collections for the month of June. So we are very consistent with anywhere between $750,000 to $1.1 million in vehicle taxes each month. We are still receiving some of the final state payments for last year. Some small things will still trickle in. And I will continue to give you updates. I don't expect anything significant to change other than once I know that we've closed out our accounts payable against last year. I may come to you and recommend that we do another small transfer out to pull some funds from our general fund like we have done in some prior years. So I want to wait and kind of see where we are once I know all our final payments are made against last year. So before we talk about impact fees, any questions on the general fund?
Yes.
Okay.
There's going to be probably about 4 or 5 questions, so this is more of a delta related. So
Sure.
in your local revenue, there's about a 51.5% delta, or $233,000. I'm curious what's influenced. I see what's influenced, but I'm curious if you can elaborate on.
Sure.
Please.
So I'll just start by clarifying, Mr. Bay, when you say local revenue, that does not include property taxes because property taxes have their own grouping in that property tax collections, for the benefit of the public, are a portion is what we think of as local, meaning it comes through the York County tax collection system, and a portion of property taxes is state reimbursement for homestead relief given to taxpayers, as well as what the state calls Tier 3, which is the Act 388 reimbursement for homeowners where we do not pay school operating millage and the state reimburses us. Not at the same level, I have to add, but the state does provide a reimbursement, and so that also goes in with what comes through the county. So the numbers that you are referring to are truly local revenue, meaning it comes directly to us from the payee. And a couple things that are in there. One is tuition, where we have families who are have elected, have a property in their child's name and have elected to pay the district tuition. We probably have about 10 of those students right now that pay tuition. And the tuition rate is based on the budget that is approved divided by the number of students. It is their proportionate share to meet the budget. It also includes interest earnings, and that's where we've seen the largest deficit, just with what's going on generally in the banking financial market. That's a tough one to estimate year to year, and we try to estimate based on the prior year interest earnings. But we've seen that with the interest rates dropping with our bank accounts, and our investments are primarily with the South Carolina local government investment pool. So we are seeing a decline, or have seen a decline. We when we did the administrative recommendation for this year's budget, we did reduce that budgeted number down because we don't want to plan for that if it's not coming in. Fortunately, out of a budget of $177 million, that's not a number that is going to significantly change our operational plan during the year if it doesn't come in. And then a couple other small things. We have a small amount of rentals. We have 2 cell towers on 2 of our school sites, and we have companies that rent use of our cell towers. And then we have some special needs transportation reimbursement where we do submit for routes where we run special needs buses and we receive funding. And then we have just some miscellaneous, some different things that come in that really just don't fit in any other category, very small for us. But we always look at how we're tracking on some of these items when we plan the budget for the next year. But none of those items, as I mentioned, are significantly going to change our plan.
Thank you.
Does that help?
Yes, ma'am.
Okay.
Next question. This is more so on the expenditure side, so this is, I'm looking at kindergartens and elementary. So I see a delta here of more so the elementary. It's about 3% or 1.16. Can you elaborate on that part of it?
Sure.
Please?
So when we initially set up the budget plan based on salaries and fringe, we pull in the position costs based on the personnel in those positions at that day, basically. Once we lock that down, if we have positions that change and a teacher leaves our district or another staff person leaves our district that's not a teacher, we would then potentially have a variance depending on the salary of the new hire, based on their experience level, their education level, also the benefits they elect. In looking at these particular numbers, I had pulled those out, and probably not surprisingly, but maybe slightly, we had significant savings last year on substitute cost. We have a district-wide, the total budget between elementary, middle, and high school is slightly under $2 million that we budget for substitute cost. And we allocate a certain amount of that for each elementary school, each middle, and each high school. And if you look sort of across the board at all levels, I was surprised we had that much in savings in our substitute budget last year, with so many positions where they were working remotely. And so we had less need, we had less people out, and we did not bring in substitutes. So that's where the significant portion of that savings came from.
Perfect, thank you on that. Next one. This is category here more so of the handicap section of the area. So it caught my eye. There's trainable mentally handicapped, and I noticed here about an 8% delta, or 167,000. Feedback on that?
Okay, so these categories are related to the EFA, or the base student cost formulas, where special ed classified students have a different, what they call ratio or factor, than regular ed. So if I'm a regular ed kindergarten teacher, I'm going to be in the kindergarten section of this report. But if I am teaching special ed students in the category you mentioned, or any of those down below, then I'm going to be classified into one of the other sections. And this is mandated by the State Department in how every district in South Carolina reports. So every special ed teacher is matched to the grouping of the students that they teach, that they're on record teaching. And that's what those categories mean.
Perfect, thank you. I got one more for you.
Sure.
The security,
Yes.
So I noticed about a 9.5% deficit or 154K. Now, I know that purchase services, that's SROs, Defender Services and whatnot, but can you elaborate on the security part?
Sure. And when you say deficit, it really means savings?
Yes, that's right.
Okay,
Yes,
just so we know, we're not short.
Not a cent
Savings.
down. Thanks.
He's complimenting us for savings.
Yes, I'm sorry. Thank you. Yes.
So, you know, we always like to share, security is so important to our district. And as you can see, board members, and for the benefit of the public, we have budgeted $1.6 million in security. And that covers our SROs in our middle and high schools. It covers our private security, our Defender Services, security in our elementary schools. And it also covers our, at the high school level, we have positions titled Campus Security Monitors that help the parking lot and just in general around the campus. So those positions are in here, as well as we have a full-time coordinator of security in our district, safety and security coordinator. But you can see that we, to date, on this report, we had spent slightly under 1.5 million. We will finalize these numbers in that I'm not sure we have finished paying all the contract costs have come in for the outside contracts as well as the SROs. So we may see that. I'd love to have that savings, but I don't know that we have paid all the final contracts on that.
Thank you. Great job. Thank you.
Yes.
Other questions for Leanne on financials?
Questions? Okay. Impact fees, just briefly, to date, we have collected $41,939,941. So right at $42 million. That's as of close of business yesterday. We have collected on single-family units, homes, 1,682 homes, and 944 apartments for a total of 2,626 units in July. And to date, meaning through the first week of August, we collected on 29 homes and 18 apartments. So we had a few days where I saw 10 come through. Then I had a few days where we didn't have any paid. It's just very much an up and down. But $42 million to date.
And based on the numbers that I think we're going to go over in a minute about enrollment,
Yes,
it appears that the houses are still
still coming.
And for perspective, that's since about August of 18.
That's since July, last week of July of 18. Great point, yes. Yes.
Looking at the report, you still see a handful that comment is paid in protest. With the resolution of the litigation, is there any other mechanism by which a payor of the impact fee could protest and get somehow refunded a impact fee payment?
To my knowledge, there is not, once the final South Carolina Supreme Court decision was made. But I agree. I see some of those comments on the report that I see daily as well.
Thank you.
So, sure. Okay, thank you.
Thank you.
okay. All right, sorry, I'm looking at that sheet. Let's see. I'm sorry. I don't have the-
What you need?
Summer
Oh, I'm
school
sorry.
update.
Oh, summer school. I can't find my agenda. I
Oh,
don't.
I'm sorry. I thought you were done
I
with
thought I was, and then I closed it out by accident. Sorry. Next up, we have an update on summer school. And I'm not sure who's going to start it. You guys going to tag team? Okay.
Looks like the three.
All right.
Well, good evening. We're excited to kind of share how our summer programming went this summer. As you know, we came in the spring and kind of shared with you Space Camp, our space program, our summer program, funded through a lot of different categories. I'm going to turn it over to Amber in just a moment. So she's going to kind of kick off our presentation for the elementary side. But I do want to thank Amber for her creativity of coming up with Space Camp, making it exciting for the students, and you'll get to see a good taste of what that was like this summer. I also want to thank Kata Walt, who was our summer school administrator, did a wonderful job with her leadership team leading that this summer. Our kids worked hard, smiling faces every day. It was great to see them working hard this summer. And also, we had over 50, 60 staff members who gave up more than half their summer to come and to do that, and with a smile on their face every single day. So I want to make sure that they were recognized for their time and efforts this summer. But it was really exciting. I want to turn over to Amber, who's going to kick off our presentation for that.
You guys know how excited I was about this, and went out and bought my Miss Frizzle costume, which you are going to get to see in just a moment. And I could talk about it all day long, but to keep me in check, we're going to show you a short video instead. So take it away, Joe. It's like fun.
All right, well, I'm going to talk to you about the programs at the middle and high school level. Joe, if you could pull up the video that I sent. No, I don't have a video. I don't have a video, but we did have some great programs at our middle and high schools at, oops, I think I just turned it off. We had two different middle school programs. They were both housed at Springfield Middle School. One of them was the traditional middle school summer school, and one is the Ignite program. Also, each of our high schools had their own program as well. So the goals of each program were different, but they were all employing an approach of targeted assistance. Each program basically looked and tried to determine where the needs of the students were and provide support based on those very specific needs. Small group instruction, even one-on-one support were the norm in the Ignite program and the different high school programs. That was a little bit more of a challenge in the middle school summer school program due to the numbers, but our teachers did find ways to work in small group instruction as well. So at Springfield Middle, they called the program the Ignite program, and it was 3 weeks long. It was a full day from 8:30 to 4:30. So students got a lot of extra instruction. There were about 70 students that attended the full first 2 weeks where they received 5 hours of instruction in ELA and math total, and then the other time was spent on physical activity, lunch, outdoor stuff, things along those lines, but they received 5 hours of extra instruction each day for 2 weeks. The final week was a more targeted and customized experience for only about 40 students where they had some intensive instruction on reading. The other middle schools were not a part of this program, but they're planning to do similar programs in the fall after school. So that was the Ignite program at Springfield. We also had our traditional middle school summer school that we have every summer. This allowed students to receive remediation in courses that they did not pass during the school year in ELA and math or both, ELA or math or both, depending on how they did during the school year. And we had 143 students that participated in this 2-week program. And then at the high schools, it looked a little bit different from school to school, but each high school did have a program. We had about 115 students altogether that participated. We were excited with the numbers. It's sometimes hard to get high school kids to commit to coming into school for a voluntary program, but we did have a high number, so we were excited with that. Some students were kind of given like a pre-intervention to try to get them ready for Algebra 1. Some students receive instruction on different courses that they struggled with during the school year and did not pass during the school year, so they were able to make up some credits. The students really enjoyed the small group and customized instruction. Sometimes in high school, it's harder to give those experiences for students just due to the nature of high school classes, so we were excited to be able to offer that small group support. And I turned it off again. There was just some pictures, so you don't get to see the pictures, but I had some pictures of the students.
We can see them.
I've got it on my screen.
Okay, oh, there we go. All right. So do you have any questions for the three of us?
Do you know ballpark of how many students went through the programs?
So she said 143, 70, and I can't remember the elementary number.
That must have been when I was trying to find my presentation.
We had 115 for high school.
320-ish.
Yeah, and about 210 for the middle schools.
250.
And we've got 250 for us.
Okay, that's excellent. I mean, I love the way it was fun and educational this summer, right? Especially for this particular summer. So, good job.
And we have some, of course, that was learning loss largely behind the summer programs, but we have some continuation of learning loss programs in the fall after school, right? And we'll be talking more about that as we.
Yes, all of the middle and high schools will be doing that for sure, fall program.
So Dr. Wakesness, you said that at the middle school level, you had kids staying over the summer at that particular middle school. So, but that involved any child in the district could have gone to that camp.
Or was it just?
No, the Ignite camp was just for Springfield students. They used part of their remediation funds for that program. The summer school program is open to all students.
Everybody.
Yeah.
And to his point, so then after school at the middle school level, all 6 middle schools will have opportunities for kids.
Yes, correct. Yep.
Amber, were there any aha moments?
Well, I think every time you get kids from 11 different schools and dump them all into one place with teachers from all over the place, you just never know what you're going to get. And it was really amazing to see the little communities come together, to be able to have some of our, Second Lieutenant Heath Pratt. He was able to dial in a graduate from our program, Daisha Jones, who's done Discovery Ed with us, to have her come in and to hear the questions the kids were asking. It was really cool to see them engage with it. And they were really having a good time. I mean, they definitely worked, trust me. They worked hard, but they had a really good time.
We also used some of our funds for a STEAM technology teacher who they did a lot of space theme builds, such as they built rovers, during that elective time. So that kind of helped add to the camp thing.
That's fantastic.
Thank you very
Good
much.
job.
Thank you.
I know it was a short summer. It was a lot to cram in, and they're ready to start back at it. So that's exciting. Speaking of starting back at it, you've got the calendar up next on a couple different things.
I do,
of
okay.
What's coming up?
Your calendar of events you have before you, those are the standard meetings for Pat went ahead and did the next 3 months to get us all, make sure you knew you were back in the swing here. The board meetings, the conferences, et cetera. First day for students, Monday the 16th. The holidays in there, the first school board visit to to the 4 schools, Fort Mount High, Gold Hill Middle, Gold Hill Elementary, and TKK Elementary on September the 16th, like we did last year where we walked through the schools. Then you get the Fort Mill TKK Chamber of Commerce State of the Community Breakfast on the 23rd of September. I gave you that date when I learned it a while back, so go ahead and get that penciled in. if you're in town. And I don't know the location yet of where I haven't been given that.
I think it's at the Glennon Center.
They usually do. They just hadn't. They said it'd send us when I hadn't gotten an email. Then you get on into October, and you do have the work day for the OEC, the Old English Consortium Professional Development Day, on I think that's a Monday, the 18th. Yeah, because board meeting the next night. Board members, are there other meetings on there that would be appropriate for the total board to hear? Other dates?
There is, in October, there is an SCSBA Beyond the Basics, but I don't recall the date for that exactly.
And that's in Columbia.
That is in Columbia. And it is subject to sign up and is dependent upon other factors as to where that might ultimately be. Or they will cap the attendance, which is a thing again.
I can't find the date.
Yeah, I don't have it on my calendar yet.
I've got it in my calendar, but then that would require me to look at everything that's got a dot on it, and you don't really want me to
And
do
I'm
that.
sure each month we'll add important dates on there. And this is kind of a broad overall calendar for the district. Each school, of course, communicates with their parents about all the various PTO and all the different meetings that occur. So it would be, you couldn't have enough paper up here to put all of that in one report, I don't believe. Questions, other dates? Okay, let's talk a little bit about enrollment. We typically, I hate this to talk numbers at this meeting before we start, and I tell the board that every year, because the computer numbers include the new people, and that's a scary number that have come in since just since the end of school compared to other years. Then we're not sure who's in the system that is withdrawn that we not aware. Believe it or not, some people move and they don't tell us. I know nobody in this room would do that. You would take care of your records and your children's records. But there's some uncertainty in the numbers you're about to see tonight. But that being said, when you look at these numbers versus numbers in the past, and those who have been on the board will probably agree with this. Even though you don't know, you get a general trend by looking at these numbers, and the trend, quite frankly, is a little scary. On the high side, I mean, scary in that regard, in that more students than maybe we thought. But you know, it is that we are in the middle of coming off the half virtual year, AB day. We're in the middle of, and then there were 3 months in the year prior to that nobody was in school. So and I think we've talked about on many occasions how I thought it would take 2 to 3 years to get this thing to settle back in. Then you put on top of that the growth that we're experiencing in Fort Mill, and particularly in Fort Mill School District. So you got all these unknowns that are erring on the high side, or tending to fall on the high side. So until we actually get students in seats and do actual counts, I just caution everybody. I used to see these numbers in the press, and I just until we get them in there, they're not enrolled. Right now, we got 0 students in Fort Mill School District. We do. We've had a bunch, but right now we've got 0 till they plop down in that chair and enroll. And a lot of students will still be on vacation, and there are circumstances where they're not here yet, where they're moving in and they don't live here yet. So it used to all kind of work its way out by about October. Now it's kind of all through the year, but it is what it is. So I sent you some numbers Friday. I also sent you a late email today with updated numbers. And I was trying to think. I tried to get Jean to stay, but she wouldn't stay. Maybe Joe and some others can help me if I. We've got the numbers you have are. I'll just kind of talk about them a little bit. We're showing since the end of school last year, 856 new people have walked in out front. Okay, so we were, I think, projecting about 800 or 900 or so on our numbers.
For the year.
For the year.
For the
Yes.
year.
Yes, for the year.
This is only right now. Keep in mind, the growth occurs over the year, not to the degree is in the summer. And some of these numbers include people who are coming back from homeschool, the various virtual schools. So as far as, you know, bodies that are new to the system, I don't know that it'll be, we'll see how it goes. And then remember, the first day that we start taking numbers, it changes drastically between the first day and the 10th day because of what I mentioned about people just settling in, coming in on vacation, particularly at the younger levels. Now, the high school level, they'll get in there and get, well, I don't know, Gales, they pretty much, when we get the first day numbers, do you grow much between 1 and 10 at the high school level? They pretty.
It's pretty stagnant. If there's anything, there's a little reduction as we find, like you said, the ones who have moved.
Right.
The numbers don't go up, but we still see a little trickle in as we get towards Labor Day with move-ins. But really, the first 10 are pretty stagnant, as you said.
Yeah, you mentioned Labor Day. That used to be the magic day when everybody thought school started, that were moving here from all over the country, from other places, and we would also always see a bump. But in the past, we've had to add teachers after the first 10 days. We hope that's not the case. But anyway, so going forward, after the first 10 days, elementary and middle school levels changed quite drastically. Then we got the freezes that are unfrozen, and those kids are being assigned back to their normal schools. So then we got the virtual schools kids where the virtual schools being held at Orchard Park at the elementary level this year. So you're going to see those numbers reflected at Orchard Park, and that's going to be their home.
Yes.
That's going to be their home school, I believe, right? And instead of each elementary school showing.
Okay.
Exactly, but Orchard Park's up. So the high school should be accurate because we have those virtual kids on your school rolls at the high school level, but we don't at the elementary. And middle, I guess, would be accurate too, right, Marty? Okay. All right. So anyway, you see the numbers, and you see at the high 16,000s last year, and when you added the graduates, it was a little over 17. So 17,788, and we've still got. Here's my question, and Joe, you may know that we've still got them with appointments and in the computer that are not in these numbers, correct?
Yeah, 500
That's the
of them.
concerning part. It's the next page. that
Okay, there they are. I'm sorry. Thought I saw that on the Friday, but I didn't know it was on this one too. Yeah. Okay. We don't even look at that. We don't talk about those. Appointments for new students. We've got 319 appointments. We've got no appointment, but applications pending. I guess 168. So if you.
So another 500
That's
kids.
500 kids.
Yeah, my numbers are high.
So.
So I'm going to lose my quarter
Yes.
when we were doing the budget, and I was concerned that we were
Overestimating?
overestimating.
What was it? Was it 18? That was a 18.3. Was that the right number?
And that was by the end of the year. Yes, it was.
Now, to be fair, some of these kids aren't going to show.
Yeah, but.
So what's the all right? So what percentage? Right? You've been
1%.
doing this for what's the percentage of these that won't
1%.
that won't pan out?
Oh, well, it used to be significant, but now it's not me. It's probably something like Michelle.
1%.
It's probably something low.
Maybe. I personally have put.
Used to be more than you'd
5
think.
new ones in this week.
You put what in?
She said 5 new kids.
Let's
Going back to your previous comment, somewhere hidden in there was, are we okay on staff?
Well,
I'm
right.
scared.
We budgeted for 18.3 right? So
Well,
should
but
have the
we had
positions.
some,
Yeah, but-
we had some low teacher loads within there. Yeah.
So far, so good.
Yeah, Marty sent me an email last week about 1 or 2 schools. You fixed it, okay.
And
So Scott, we thought we really had it figured out.
and
To your point, if you remember, if you look at Dale's numbers from a pre-pandemic.
Yeah, they were
projections for
a lot
this
higher,
year
yeah.
is probably tracking
Yeah.
about what
To where
we
that-
said
yeah.
to
Right.
pre-pandemic for 2022, 23. Probably gonna be, we're just recovering it pretty quickly.
Was that number over the 18.3, or was the 18.3?
Yeah, I think it climbed on up to like 18.7-ish or so, so it was on up in there.
Okay.
So Dale's numbers said we'd be at 18.7, and we're tracking that way, okay.
By the end of,
Pre-pandemic.
Right, but we're over.
Oh, yeah.
But
Yeah.
that's if everybody here shows up.
But that's
Right.
an if. And,
but you know, it also makes sense. You talk to folks across the country. Our school district was one of, I would imagine, a minority in the country that opened up last year. That had students at the elementary 5 days a week for the full year, and that has students in their middle and high school. I was talking to somebody in Arkansas. They've been in virtual for a year and a half.
Yeah.
Why wouldn't you move here? Why
Right.
wouldn't you try any way that you can to move in here if you were from one of those districts?
I was in Santa Barbara yesterday, and they haven't, yesterday, and haven't slept since then. But anyway, they have not been in a school since March of 2020.
Ugh.
Have not set foot in a school at all since March of 2020. So, one thing I wanted to mention, because I've heard some discussion about it, these 500-ish summer appointments, some are just paperwork so far, can't all be done by Monday, right? I mean, we don't have room for 500 appointments by Monday, so I know, you know, obviously it's a concern, it's a frustration, but there's just only so many hours in the day.
I thought we
right?
fixed that. Peter, was that you who was telling me that we, Gray was telling me.
They worked on
Gray and Peter,
Saturday.
they look the same. Okay.
Yeah.
Our central registration staff they've done over 1,000 appointments in the last 6.5 weeks, but they have, we got the power school staff at every school since they're back to work. They took the appointments that were scheduled for after school starting, and they're doing those at the school. We kept our appointments here, so we're able to get most of them. Now, I will tell you, is those appointments for after, when after school starts free up, there's people
Right.
Waiting to jump.
so we will be registering people after school, but it's really people that are moving here now or next week.
Right, right.
So
If-
instead of being 3 weeks behind, they'll come in on that first week of school.
Right.
Okay, good.
So at what point do we,
We can't shut the door.
I know, but, so at what point, when I'm looking just 12,000 feet here, we've got Gold Hill Middle
You're
at
asking about freezes.
828 already. We've got Pleasant Knoll Middle at 930 already. We've got Gold Hill Elementary at 865 already. And Pleasant Knoll Elementary at 800 already. At what point are we starting to get nervous and panic about a little bit of that, and where are we sending them?
Well,
And I don't say sending them in terms of, like, they're gonna go away, but at some point, there's not gonna be enough
well,
seats again.
two-part answer. We do have capacity at all our schools, and maybe not at some schools more than others, but we did just open 3 schools within the last year. Granted, not as much capacity as we had hoped to last for a longer period of time than we had hoped. But I think we've said to the public, publicly, that we were going to look at the first 10-day numbers and look between now and December and decide just how soon. We got the 10-year plan. We're going to 10-year building program plan. We're going to be reporting to you here in the next meeting or two. We're going to talk about when we're full of capacity, when the next referendum will be.
When we need to start building the next schools.
And it'll by December, we'll have to make some decisions. I'm not saying anything will happen bond-wise by December. I'm saying as a board, as a governing body, you'll have to make some decisions, not about if there's going to be a referendum, but when the next one and what
And
will
what
be
all
in it.
includes, right? Is it 1
So-
school, 2 school, 3 schools?
So we'll do what we got to do, Michelle, for the immediate. If we start next week and one school's just over the top, obviously we'll have to do something right away.
Well, we opened a new middle school, but Pleasant Knoll Middle is up 30 more students than they were at the end of the year. And that's with opening a new middle. Gold Hill Middle is up 10, a little more than 10, 15. And that, again, is with opening a new school. So,
Well,
if it's lines, if it's referendum, if it's whatever, but we didn't decrease those bubbles like we had hoped or thought was gonna happen. And they're gonna be
Well-
there before we blink.
And we'll, by law, we have to address them, and we will. we'll provide an education for them, and it'll be
Right.
high quality. A stopgap could be, I think there are 4 interchanges out there. Let's just put no vacancy signs on all 4 of those I-77 interchanges.
Yeah,
out
as soon
there,
as they
something
get
like that.
done with Gold Hill before Labor Day, they're all gonna be like, woo-hoo, let's go.
And while it's a much smaller number this year, we do have some of those students virtual, which does, from a physical space,
Yeah.
Right.
help a little bit. Again, it's a much smaller population, and
Are the virtual numbers in these? in these?
Yes.
Okay. So it may look like they're, for example, Pleasant Knoll looks like it has 929, but they might physically only have 900 in the building.
at the middle level, that's true.
The elementary level, they're all at Orchard
They're
Park.
all
They're not in the
Orchard
elementary.
Park.
Right.
And I would wager to guess, just knowing that population, I highly doubt that there's that many from Pleasant Knoll Middle that are virtual versus the number that we're looking at.
Well, I just used that as an example.
Yeah, but no, but you're right, but I don't think that it's
I-
not that
I
many.
know
I mean,
what
we've got, what, 500 total in Virtual Academy this year?
Right.
And that's,
I would like, as
Third
we,
through
as
12.
we review these numbers going forward, if we can have a view of virtual, I think that would be helpful too. You know, the total for the school, but what line item of that is virtual? That'd be great.
Because knowing there's physical bodies in the building could make a difference, or make that
Exactly.
look.
right.
Right now, nobody's calling me from middle school screaming.
That's a good sign.
Tuesday of next
Of all
week
the
is gonna
seats
be a
are empty
different
in there.
story.
Yeah.
Okay.
What else you got?
I got a statement I want to
Okay.
read before we end, but any other questions about the, I won't call them fake numbers, but they're not firm, so we'll see how they come out.
How's our kindergarten ratios looking right now?
Marty can
What's-
tell you that, I don't know. Are they okay still? Yeah.
Good.
We did build in some favorable loads on the front end. I mean, it may not end up that way, but we did, yeah. Okay, I'm just gonna, as I've done several meetings in the past, just read a few statements for the record in regards to the start of school. I'm gonna read some and I'm gonna talk some, so just bear with me. We're excited to get the new school year started on Monday. Teachers and staff are currently back in their buildings getting prepared for the return of their students. We are also opening Forest Creek Middle School this year, and we are looking forward to having the home of the Coyotes join our Fort Mill family. As part of the preparations for the new school year, we have also continued our efforts to safeguard the health and well-being of our students and staff. I want to share some highlights of mitigation strategies that will be in place at the beginning of this school year in accordance with DHEC and CDC guidance and state law. And to that note, I know the board and I have received a lot of emails about mitigation strategies and a lot of misinformation. And I'm gonna read off some things we're doing, but some, so this should comfort some people, I would hope. 3-foot social distancing will be observed in places where possible. Continued emphasis on proper hand washing and use of hand sanitizer stations located throughout the schools. Contact tracing for positive test results for close household contacts. Deep cleaning of school, including the EPA-approved misters, as we used last year. We do that. They go in at night, I believe, Joe. Okay, so, and the buses, the same thing, twice a day on the buses. So that's all the same as last year. In addition, installation of the Air Guardian system in all elementary and middle school classrooms. And I don't know how much information or how much people read the article, but that's really an amazing system from what we can tell. We're excited about it. Not only kills COVID, but it gets into all several other viruses and it minimizes school molds. And so hopefully we'll see a big a difference there. Okay. We encourage the DHEC and CDC recommend the use of, we encourage and DHEC and the CDC recommend the use of masks in school. However, under the governor's order and the proviso adopted by the South Carolina legislature that could withhold funding, face masks will remain optional for students and staff. I'm not sure if everybody in the public understands that. If we wanted to say no mask, we couldn't say that. The law clearly says optional. The law ties our funding into it. We don't have the option of shutting schools down. We couldn't even do virtual for those people who want us to just defy the law. We're gonna have to abide by the law. We're a state agency. We want to abide by the law. We couldn't make people wear masks, on the other hand. We couldn't do either one. It has to be optional based on funding. Okay. The district will also continue our efforts to promote vaccinations. We have previously partnered with local health providers to offer vaccination clinics, and we are currently working on future events to provide vaccination opportunities. Individuals who have been fully vaccinated at least 2 weeks prior to any exposure will not have to enter quarantine protocols, which allows them to remain in school. I failed to mention one other bullet. We're not calling it the family model at the elementary level, but we're continuing on many of those practices by keeping small classes in the lunchroom, some alternating between lunchroom and eating in the classroom. Same situation on the playground. So a lot of that's going to look very similar. We're trying to get back, hopefully as things get better, to more of a full playground and full lunchroom, but we're not going to start school that way. We will continue to make adjustments as any guidelines or recommendations change throughout the year. We have received questions about the reason for the removal of desk shields from classrooms. The CDC and DHEC have removed the recommendation for the use of desk shields in classrooms. In accordance with this guidance, we have removed the desk shields from classrooms throughout the district. So that's the only thing different than last year in that regard. We are proud of the way our students, staff, and community have handled these tough times throughout the entire pandemic. We are ready to begin this new school year with a continued commitment to education and the well-being of everyone in our district. So those are the highlights that I wanted to get in the record. Questions?
Since I responded to a number of the emails, I've actually used a lot of the same information as what you just shared. I think there was misinformation that there wouldn't be any level of cohorting, podding at all at the elementary level, and just the nature of elementary pre-pandemic was somewhat cohorted or podded because those 20-ish kids generally stay together. I think one of the biggest differences, instead of the music teacher coming into the room, they're now going to go down the hall to the music room or PE, right? But it's still with that same group. So I tried to reinforce that because it seems like the majority, not all, but the majority of the concerns that we heard about were more from elementary because of the lack of vaccination availability, right? Whereas, not that everybody is vaccinated at the middle and high school, but it is, for the most part, available to both students and teachers at those age ranges. I think the other thing that has come up are questions about either grouping by vaccinated, unvaccinated, masked, unmasked, and I don't believe we have any intentions or any, I don't even know the legalities of doing that kind of grouping or podding.
We couldn't legally segregate the students in that way.
Day by day, it is a parent's choice and a student's choice whether they will or won't wear a mask. And just as we see up here, just as we see in the audience, it will be a mixed bag. That's where we are in the state of South Carolina.
So the air scrubber thing, I will say, I have one of those. I put one of those on my house after I bought it, and it does make a huge difference. And part of the reason that I did it was not because COVID, but I'm kind of a germaphobe anyway. And they were like, oh yeah, you know, it takes care of odors in the air. It'll take care of E. coli on your countertops. And I'm thinking, well, not everybody wipes things down the way I do. So, okay, yeah, let's do that. So it has been a great thing. My house has stayed cleaner. We're not getting sick. So it's a great thing. I love it.
And we use ESSER funds to
Right.
purchase that. And let me be clear, we only have it at the elementary and middle schools. I may have said that. We hope to add it to the high schools as soon as we can get funding. And they're not going to be in place as school starts. We're meeting, I think, today. Joe, did y'all meet? Okay, but it's going to be a pretty quick install. I'm hesitate to give a date. I got an idea. It'll be way before Christmas and sometime.
We're supposed to start installation the week of August 30th.
Yeah. We're starting August 30. Okay.
Anything
Questions?
else? All right. We did not need our second executive session because we covered everything we needed to in our first. And so unless I'm missing something, then I will say we would entertain a motion to adjourn.
Motion to adjourn?
Second.
All right, we are adjourned. Thanks, everybody, for joining.